gotta turn my hearing aids off. Coming through too much. All right. Good evening. Council workshop session in the City of Copperas Cove held May 17, 2022 is called to order at 5:04 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mary Yancey.
Here.
Joanne Cortland. Here. Fred Chavez.
Here.
Sean Alzona. Jay Manning. Diane Campbell. Vanya Hart.
Here.
Jack Smith.
Here. All right, thank you. Okay, announcements. Ms. Cortland.
None at this time.
I have nothing, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. Beginning Thursday, Rabbit Fest is kicking off. That will be at City Park Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So those people who are traveling on Avenue B or FM 1113 know that there will be quite a bit of traffic, but there will be traffic control out there. So please drive cautiously, but go and enjoy the festivities too.
Ms. Hart.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Mr. Smith.
None.
All right, we move to proclamation, public recognition.
Proclamation National Public Works Week. Dan D. Yancey, Mayor.
I'm gonna pull it up here.
Looks like a police lineup.
All right, City of Copperas Cove proclamation. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Copperas Cove. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government, and the private sector who are responsible for maintaining, rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation and drainage, water supply, wastewater collection and treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, equipment, and other structures and facilities, and providing related services for the same that are essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Copperas Cove to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2022 marks the 62nd Annual Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association / Canadian Public Works Association. Now, therefore, I, Dan Yancey, Mayor of City of Copperas Cove, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through 21, 21st, 2022 to be declared as National Public Works Week, and do hereby urge all the citizens of this locality to acknowledge our public works professionals and employees and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protect our health, safety, and welfare, thereby preserving our quality of life. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Copperas Cove to be affixed this 17th day of May 2022.
photobomb.
I'm making myself real small. What? Why? These are good.
And I just wanted to say a few words. First of all, thank you, Mayor Yancey, for this proclamation and the acknowledgement of the Public Works Department. As many may know and many may not know, Public Works in the city of Copperas Cove consists of 8 different departments made up of about 105 employees, which is about 34% of the entire employee population of the city. We take care of water, sewer, wastewater treatment, solid waste, drainage, streets. We work on capital improvement projects. We're utility administration. We're contract management, fleet services, and I'm probably forgetting one or two. And then we have Roxanne over here, who's our lead public information officer. She keeps us straight. So with all that, we appreciate, again, the acknowledgement from the community. I've never had the privilege of working with a more dedicated group of individuals than I do here in the city of Copperas Cove. They give their all every day to provide those services. So once again, we appreciate you and the opportunity the city's given us. Thank you.
Most definitely appreciate everything that you guys do for us. Item D2.
Presentation of Kew Copperas Cove Beautiful Scholarships, Roxanne Flores Ahmad, KCCB Executive Director.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. KCCB gives away 2 $1,000 scholarships every year. And so we are honored this year. We have 2 applicants, and we actually had quite a bit this year, so it's really nice to see that the word is getting out regarding our scholarships. I would like the KCCB board, if you could come up here and join us, as well as the students as I call your name. The first applicant that is receiving $1,000 is Jasmine Addy. And the second applicant that we have is John Coleman, who's receiving $1,000 as well. If you could come up, please. As always, I'd like to thank KCCB as well as the mayor and city council and our city manager. Applications come out September 1, so if you are going to be a graduating senior next year, please consider applying for the KCCB scholarship. Thank you.
We move to item D3.
Presentation of Chief Tim Olness Memorial Scholarships, Eddie Wilson, Chief of Police.
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm proud to be before you once again to present the Chief Molness Memorial Scholarship. This year, we're giving away more scholarships than we ever have in previous years, so I'm really proud of that. We had some great interviews, we had some great applicants, and once again, it served as a Another reminder of how much I underachieved in high school. Fred, you know what I'm talking
I
about, right?
totally
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, I want to introduce each one of them and just say a little bit about all of them if they could come up as I introduce them for a photo opportunity. The first one is Alicia Austin. Alicia has a 4.19 GPA. She plans on attending the Texas A&M University major in allied health. And she's been a part of Junior ROTC, HOSA. She's a varsity cheerleader, national qualifier in DECA. She's also a National Honor Society, and she's also won several championships to include all around in gymnastics. So, Alicia Austin. Yeah, now, right now. We can take a picture. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry we don't have one of those cool big checks like KCCB. But, our next recipient is Danielle Bailey. Danielle has a 3.47 GPA. She plans on attending Sam Houston State University to major in microbiology. Her activities have included swim team, National Honor Society. She's also been a longtime employee of Parks and Rec as a lifeguard, and she's already working on becoming a CMA and a phlebotomist. Our next recipient is Leah Bowl. Leah is your valedictorian this year. She plans on attending the University of Texas to get her master's in business. Her activities include DECA, National Honor Society, volleyball. She's received numerous academic awards and already has 20 hours of college to get her ready to go for her college career. So Leah Bowl. Our next recipient is Brooklyn Crawley. Brooklyn actually has two class rankings. She's ranked 6th in the junior class and 11th in the senior class. And the reason she has two is because she's graduating at the age of 16 in the completion of her junior year. She plans on attending Central Texas College and then the University of Central Florida or Sam Houston State to get her master's in criminology. Her activities include academic UIL, the Criminal Justice Club, National Honor Society, and the Spanish National Honor Society, and has served as an officer in both and also has 24 hours of college. Our next recipient is Chandler Costello. Chandler is this year's salutatorian. He plans on attending Texas A&M University to get his master's in engineering. His activities include DECA, varsity football captain, powerlifting, baseball, tennis, and track. He's also a member of student council. He's academic all-state. He's a part of the Holy Family Youth Group and has 36 hours of college. Our next recipient is Caitlin Guevara. Caitlin has a 4.1 GPA, plans on attending Angela State University to major in history, and her activities include student council, softball, soccer, cross country, volunteer. She's also been a volunteer softball coach, and she's received numerous academic awards. Our next recipient is Jalen Linker. Jalen has a 3.48 GPA and plans on attending Central Texas College and then Texas A&M University Central Texas to major in elementary education. Her activities include she's lieutenant for the Copperettes, secretary for the Texas Association of Future Educators, and currently working with the Child Care Center at Sweat Cove Fitness. Next recipient is Sophia Ortiz. Sophia has a 4.02 GPA, plans on attending Central Texas College to major in business. She'll eventually move on to get her master's in international relations. Her activities include volleyball, DECA, student council, National Honor Society, FFA, and also has 9 hours of college. All right, our ninth and final recipient, last but not least, is Lillian Perez. Lillian has a 4.09 GPA and plans on attending William Penn University in Iowa, where she earned a scholarship to play soccer. She'll be majoring in nursing. Her activities include National Honor Society, soccer, cross-country track, HOSA, FCCLA, and also has 32 hours of college to get her started. To close, I'd like to also thank the work that was done by our scholarship committee. That includes Detective Kevin Sheldon, I don't know if he's here tonight, Shannon Thompson, Deputy Chief Brian Wires, and Lisa Wilson. Also would like to thank Clear Creek Meadows and VFW Post 8577, who has been very gracious in helping us helping keep this scholarship going every year, thanks to their donations. If I could ask everybody to, or everybody here, to come up and get a photograph as a group, that'd be really great. So. Lisa, yeah. Yeah, can we center everybody so we get the council in on it too? That'd be great. Yeah, you too, Shannon.
You want us down there?
Shannon, get in the Yeah, if you guys can just stand up behind the dais. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Anybody else want to get in it? Put everybody in it.
Please use the chin filter.
All right, final round of applause.
Very impressive, very impressive. Whenever you can graduate and already be a sophomore in college. As a parent, that's really good. All right, item D4.
Retirement recognition, Ryan Havilah, City Manager.
Mayor and council, tonight we are celebrating with an amazing person who retired several months ago, but now we are celebrating her retirement with you. So, Miss Cheryl Forrester, come on up. So we kind of have a whole process of recognizing our amazing retirees. And so I'm actually going to read a little bit about Cheryl, and then we're going to present her with a number of things. Cheryl began her employment with the City of Copperas Cove on October 8, 1996, as an executive secretary in the police department, where she served with pride until her retirement recently on February 28th. With 25 years of experience with the city, Cheryl became an expert in her profession. She possessed outstanding institutional knowledge relating to budgeting, purchasing, accounts payable, and other key functions of the city and police department, including grant management. So much so that she shared her knowledge and skills while providing individual training in the development of the new administrative assistants in other departments across the city. Aside from the many police department grants in 2010, Cheryl assisted with the city in obtaining a grant in the amount of $87,000 in a major HVAC upgrade. During her career, Cheryl received special commendations for routinely going above and beyond to support the city in any manner she could. She was awarded the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association's Best Supporting Player of the Year recognition in March of 2008 for her outstanding commitment and service. Additionally, Cheryl remained very active in the city's Co-Fit Wellness program for many years, even achieving the 5th highest point and being part of the first place team for the 2022-2021 program year. Her activity often included participating in many citywide community events as well. I think she was probably deducted by the person managing Co-Fit, just so she wouldn't beat that person. Right. Her supervisor has commented that Mrs. Forrester was never satisfied with anything short of an excellent product. She always strived for perfection, even knowing it was not always achievable. She was a true asset for budget management and grant writing and was always positive in her support of the city, police department, and the community as a whole. She has been an exemplary employee for the past 25 years. She is a friend to many people, and her presence as the PD mama is already missed and will continue to be missed into the future. So Cheryl, with my privilege, it's on behalf of the city, congratulations on your retirement. The very best to you in the future of anything that you want to do. Congratulations.
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to. I'm not very good at it. You might have to read it.
Oh, well, you can read that in a minute.
Okay.
I'm gonna present you
You
things
tell me
first.
how to read it.
So where's Chief Wilson? Chief Wilson, come on up, sir. Being presented to Cheryl is a framed art that is presented to her. It has city coins as well. Very uniquely, it also has all of her service pins from 5 years to 25 years.
In addition, it's gonna be in my toolbox. Thank you.
In addition to that, we have a gift card. Where's Miss Cheryl's gift card? Oh, there we go. Deputy chiefs are bringing the gift card. Miss Cheryl receives a gift card for every year of service that she provided to the city of Copperas Cove, as well as because we didn't have her cup for her 25 years of service previously, we're presenting her with her cup of 25 years also.
Let me get it out.
Miss Cheryl, I believe you had prepared remarks, huh?
It's gonna be a rough road. I'm not believing I did get hit with a star again. not a speaker. I might have to skip a few, or you might have to read them for me. I don't know, where do you look? I've never been up here before. Mayor, City Council, and Ryan, City Manager, thank you for the kind words. I never imagined in 1996, when I became employed by the police department, that I would actually work 25 years plus a few months. I survived, but look what it did to my hair. Thanks to all the many city employees who have worked with me along the way. You assisted in making this possible. Many thanks to my police department work family, including animal control and code compliance. Let me just say the best city departments. A wonderful group of individuals who make up the team serving the citizens of Coppers Cove. Last but not least, this is the paragraph that's going to be a little iffy, okay? Thanks goes to the admin team. You guys are my family. Captain Cardona, Captain Nace, DC Alber, DC Wires, and the biggest thanks to our fearless leader, Chief Wilson. I won't look over there anymore. Thanks for putting up with me for all these years and for your trusting me to do it in an above and beyond job. Now I am off to do whatever retired people do. Work in the yard, take some walks, bake some goodies, travel, and most of all, enjoy visits with friends, family, and grandkids. Thank you.
And Mayor and Council, if you'll congratulate Miss Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sort of naked. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful 25 years plus of service. I noticed she said 25 years plus, so kept up with it. All right, we move to workshop items. Item E1.
Receive and update and provide direction regarding the city's current single-stream recycling program. Scott Osborne, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Megan. And is this where I'd find that? Works. Where is, oh, I click on it.
And then right here. And then you can make it bigger. There you go.
Okay, and that, how do I show, this actually is a PDF, is there a way to make it PowerPoint?
If anybody is missing a phone, there's one that was left up here
Put up here, but
on a chair.
rather than,
It's in your phone.
Okay. Let's, hold on, let me see it.
if it's too difficult, it
That's okay.
I suppose I should have saved it as a PowerPoint then, huh?
Yeah, it's okay. I didn't know.
This
Sorry.
will work. Okay, so
All you have to do. Just,
click here.
oh, you don't have to. Just go. Like your mouse. Just move it.
Gotcha.
Or you can do the arrow.
Okay. No, I'm good. Yeah. Sorry about that pause for my clarification on technical issues. Mayor, City Council, Appreciate you having me here tonight. This is the third recycling update that we've done over the course of the last 3 years. We started these updates in 2020, went on to 2021, and finally into 2022. This presentation really follows approximately the same format, and really what I want to highlight for you is the true cost of the recycling program and some potential options at the end for City Council's consideration. The recycling program, it has been a long-standing program of the city. Does receive a substantial amount of participation by the community, and there's a lot of advocates in the community for the continuation of this program. With that in mind, there's also a business aspect to every service that we provide, and really that cost-benefit analysis that we go through specifically in Public Works as we're looking at these enterprise funds such as the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund, Water and Sewer, etc. So one of my functions as the director is to really hone in on what are those true costs, what are the options for either enhancing or taking different routes with these services, at least making recommendations to City Council for the same. The first thing I'd like to touch on is this special collections calendar. I put this in the presentation to basically highlight that we have had some recent changes to our special collections calendar, and that is both recycling and brush and bulk services. We went from a first and third week collection schedule, which skipped a fifth week if one occurred in a month, to an every other week type collection. So this enhanced the services in both of those areas, recycling and brush and bulk, for our citizens, really equating to about 4 additional pickups over the course of a year. Although this rolled out did cause a bit of confusion, we attempted to provide some adequate notice out to the public. But after several weeks, it did get cleared up. Everybody got back on the same schedule, so we're off and rolling, providing once again additional services to the community. A copy of this special collections calendar for anybody that wonders, okay, which day is mine? I find myself doing the same thing. I just look at my neighbors to see if their green can's out. And I should know this, and Mr. Larry Scott, our Director of Solid Waste, never hesitates to make fun of me about that when I ask. But this is placed on the city's website for anybody that needs this information. Okay, so as in the past, I do have this slide relating to recyclables accepted as part of the city's single stream recycling program. This is current. Does highlight that we do not accept certain types of materials, for instance, plastic bags, styrofoam, glass materials, and really are looking just for the recyclables that are put up here. As part of this program, one of the struggles that this program has consistently faced over the course of this program is really that contamination factor, where materials other than those shown or unclean materials are placed in that recycling bin. That, as we've discussed in the past, that does detract from our ability to keep those costs down. So in the past and on a periodic basis, we do communicate with our residents when we discover materials within those bins. However, as we also discussed in the most recent past, the method we use to collect these recyclables is automated side loader. That is, one driver, one truck, automated arm picks up the bins and puts it in there. To actually inspect every single can out there on the route would require additional effort, and that's something that really is only periodically practiced in areas where we do anticipate that we're receiving some additional waste in that stream. So let's see, I skipped right past it. One thing I did want to highlight in this presentation, Larry and I, is really some of the functionality of the city's new Routeware system. and some of the metrics that tracks. That system has been rolled out, I think going on about 4 months now. We got all the equipment installed. It's now, the staff are trained on the utilization of this system. And as you can see, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Here we do have some metrics relating specifically to recycling numbers. We have a few dates in here, April 6th, April 7th, 11th, and 12th. And as you note on here, we have 3 columns. It's very hard to read, but the first is scheduled stops, and this is for a particular route. First one on the left, for April 11th, we have 775 scheduled. There's a done column, which is 518. Those are the number of stops where the receptacle was actually picked up. And then we have skips. In the first column here, we have 257. So with Routeware, if you can imagine with me, the driver's going down the street. For every one he picks up, he presses a button. That's in the done column. For every one that's skipped, there's another button. He pushes that, and that's how we come up with these metrics. But in large part relating to recycling, based on these numbers, you do see relatively, at least for recycling purposes, relatively decent or good participation rates, averaging right around 50-51% for this period. There was a question I was presented a little bit earlier about, okay, this particular time frame, this was right after we changed up that scheduled special collections. Do the numbers before reflect a higher percentage rate than this? Because as I mentioned, there was some confusion about what day is that next collection after the schedule change. We did go back to early March before the change, did the calculation, still had approximately 52 to 55% collection participation in that metric. So with that, it seems to be fairly consistent, at least for these time periods we looked at. That's still a very high participation rate for recycling services. On this slide, you do see some of the functionality, once again, of Routeware. This is a picture of basically a stop that was skipped. As you can see, circled in white, there is the recycling container there. So this has really helped with our customer service. When people call in, why was I not serviced today? And we can really cue in on what occurred, what the status of this location was when the driver actually made it out to that location.
Mr. Mayor, I have a quick question. Mr. Osborne, have you seen a decline in participation over the last couple of years?
I would have to defer to Larry. Would you come up here, please? Once again, Larry Scott, Director of Solid Waste. He knows so much more about this than I do, so I'll defer to him.
The numbers were not obvious before. You couldn't really tell. The tonnage is pretty similar, but now we can actually track that, a third of each route is not participating. But it's it's hit and miss. Some weeks they're out, some weeks they're not. I can go to any address in the city and just look back since we started in the end of February and tell you who was out, who wasn't, and the type, materials. If the cans are open, we can actually see in it and skip. But the weights are pretty consistent.
Thank you. Just stand up here, bro.
Mr. Scott,
Yes, sir.
how far back do you think they have been consistent?
Since I've been here,
Okay,
the weights are pretty much the same, sir.
thank you.
Did that address your question? Thank you, ma'am. So as noted on the slide up here, we basically have an average of the weekly, monthly, and annual stops ranging from the weekly of about 7,300, monthly of about 31,000, 381,000 over the course of the year of recycling stops within the city. This slide is a little bit misleading relating to the pictures, but these numbers do reflect just the recyclings. We do show bulk, we do show brush. Those are some additional pictures we received from Routeware that we'd like to highlight for council, just so you see the quality of the pictures that we receive as we go up to these various different locations and provide those services.
So, Scott, you can go back to that slide.
Yes, sir.
So the pictures that we see there, particularly the one at the top where you got 2 wash machines, mattress, all kinds of things, are those are picked up? Are those charged directly for the materials picked up?
They are, and I'll let Larry tell you how much that looks like.
Yes, sir. The brush in bulk actually equates to 3 by 3 by 3. It's about the size of like a washing machine, but you can clearly see it is over that amount, and that picture is from a charge pile. It gets measured, and then they calculate it, and then we get that in the system, and then we can enter an in code and charge the person correctly.
So how much, so could you ballpark like that particular picture of the brush, how much they get charged?
Can't tell you off the top of my head. I think it's around 75, depending on the measurements. A lot of them range. The minimum fee is $7 for a little bit over, and most of them range around 75 to like I think 145-ish.
And then the picture at the top, what would you ballpark?
That's the one I was actually talking about. You were talking about the brush at the bottom, sir?
Well, let's talk about the top one. So you're saying how much?
I think around $75 would be the low ball on that due to the dimensions.
So you're gonna pick it up at their house.
Yes, sir.
And you're gonna haul it away
Yes,
for
sir.
$75.
Yes, sir.
And in other cities, they don't do that. They take it, some other cities do not have what I call curbside pickup, which is
No,
what
sir.
this is.
They don't.
And so they would have to take it to the transfer station.
Yes, sir.
And what kind, if you were to take this directly to the transfer station, how much would that be?
I wouldn't even, our minimum fee, $8, because we take the washing machine and the dryer as scrap metal, and we don't charge them for that. We usually let them dump those items first and come back and weigh. So anything under 240 pounds is like $8 at a minimum and 4 cents a pound after.
So it would be cheaper.
Yes, sir.
To go to the transfer station.
Yes, sir.
But certainly not as convenient.
No, sir.
And so there's some serious convenience factors in the fact that you're dumping a lot of stuff and they're coming and you're not having to mess with it.
No,
There's a
sir.
huge convenience factor involved with that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I have a lot more data and a lot more pictures. We take it every time when we have to do any kind of charge so that we can, backdate everything.
So like that particular one, you could go back and tell me what that address was and how much they got charged.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That would be interesting.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I could stress the fact that what the city of Coppers Cove does is by and large a little bit added value for being able to pick that up as opposed to other cities that do not. And you have to pick it up, you have to get a trailer, you have to haul it, and then,
Yes, sir.
and dispose of it. And that time factor is pretty significant.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Quick question. I guess what falls under the special collection stops? What exactly does that mean?
Yes, ma'am. The special collections, according to the schedule we've seen on the second slide, is recycle, brush and bulk. That's our special collections. That's what we consider. And we just have them on the same day for each area so that we're consistent throughout the city.
Okay. And so are the weekly recycle stops, is that just an average based off, I'm looking at the.
That is
slide
just
report.
recycle stops. That's not
Okay.
even including all the stops we do for brush and bulk.
So how, because I was trying to correlate that to the last slide where you were saying how much was being picked up. On slide 4, you had the recycling stops. Is that the same right there?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
does that 7,300, is that,
Yes, that includes those days.
okay. So is that a month, are those stops, is that a month?
Yes, ma'am. The middle one, yes, is a month.
Okay.
And
month
then you got an
versus- so
annual, what, a
weekly?
year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chavez?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. As far as convenience goes, I've had to bring a bumper that ended up in my neighborhood somehow. I took it down to the transfer station, and there was it was pretty busy. It's during a weekday morning that it's a popular place, and I went quickly and fast, and I asked about any consideration of a secondary lane in or lane out, and that is, I was told that is something you guys are looking into.
Yes, sir. That's actually one of the projects we rolled into the capital improvement program as a second scale. If you recall, I believe we have some design funds
That's right.
this year, and we're gonna roll roll that with potential transfer station expansion as well as the wash rack construction. It's really being packaged all together for efficiency and economy's sake, starting with a facility master plan that'll demonstrate and have some of that preliminary engineering in it. Go for a MSW permit to replace our registration, which will allow us to take on additional tonnage per day. So all of that is currently being scoped. I'm expecting a proposal here from a company we met with in the very near term, and that'll be obviously tracking through council as we get that kicked off.
So you're basically lead turning it. Thank you. I appreciate that. One other thing is, as your trucks go through on a regular basis, it's not a bulk pickup day, but they happen to come across a bulk pile. Do those piles that are sitting out on an off-cycle time, do we just leave them there, or do we pick them up, or what do we do with that?
Sir, if it's called in and it gets back to us, and the drivers relay it to us, we'll send somebody out and it'd be a charge pile.
Okay.
If it is like a move out or an extreme amount, then we contact code enforcement, let them address it first with whoever the owner is.
Okay. I just really appreciate this route where I think it's amazing. It's a good tool. It's going to help us, I think, overall. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so moving on into the meat of this presentation really gets into, again, the true cost of the recycling program. I've put together some information up here, Coppers Cove's recycling disposal cost. Basically, originally we had a different recycling processor, Balcones. Their prices eventually went up to about $60 per ton to process. And then eventually we received an email from them saying they had no more capacity and could no longer accept our material. At that point, Mr. Scott and his team reached out to Sunbright Material Recycling Facility located up in Waco. At that point, we did send them a trailer load full of material for analysis and pricing purposes. I believe I provided that information in our last discussion that represented X percentage of cardboard, X percentage of aluminum cans, 20% of MSW that was included in there. They came up with a price of $50 per ton to process at their Waco, Texas facility. Currently this year, over the course of 6 months, single stream processing cost based on that $50 a ton has been $12,125. That represents approximately 242.5 tons of material that have been transported for processing through Sunbright. And this is the single stream material that we collect on these routes on the weekly basis. With that, in the past, you may recall that we've had higher quantities of recyclable material that had been being processed. And the question arose, why so little for 6 months? Based on this amount, we're projecting to finish up the year right around 512 tons. The answer for that is very straightforward. Sunbright can only accept up to 1 trailer per week of our recyclable material, which ranges from about 9 to 12 tons per trailer. Another constraint that we've had this year is our transport company, Comal Transportation, have had significant issues with labor shortages, really eliminating some of the driver availability to take these up in addition to the city's usual MSW over to the Temple landfill. So with those constraints in mind, that has reduced the amount of material that could be transported for single stream recycling. However, with this material that's been transported, Mr. Scott and his team have actually been doing a phenomenal job of attempting to recover additional material from the waste stream in a pure form, cardboard, scrap metal, and have been able to actually convert those materials either through Sunbright or through other vendors for scrap metals over in Kempner to turn that into a revenue source. And they're continuing to increase that activity as manpower exists to do that type of thing. So with that, we have, once again, the $50 a ton to process up in Waco. That's a portion of the disposal cost. The second cost is the hauling or transportation cost, which up to Waco with Comal Transportation, it's $405 per load. Over the course of 6 months, we have $11,745 as the cost there. And that's basically 29 weeks worth of deliveries is what that represents. So to get in, and there's two parts of this equation. You have the disposal cost, which we just went through here. That's the cost of processing it once it gets to the transfer station. We also have the collection side of it, and that's our guys that are out in the trucks running the routes. Includes the personnel expenses, their benefits, all of the costs that feed into that cost center. In last year's budget, $243,876, and that accounts for the bulk of what that cost center represents. Transfer station disposal, the actual cost of the disposal of it, what we pay Sunbright, is included in another cost center. That's the transfer station cost center. It's gripped into basically the same pot of money, if you will, that we use to dispose of our regular trash. So that's most convenient for us in budgeting purposes. Same goes with the hauling. The costs associated with the recycling program are factored into the transfer station's hauling budget. To actually arrive at those projections on a year-by-year basis, city staff projects what we believe we're going to receive over the course of a year. MSW has been coming in right around 32,000 tons per year. We have the cost broke down for that based on how much it costs us to take a ton of waste over to Temple, which is about $33 right now, along with the cost of the transport of each of those trailers, which is about $265 a trip for those trailers. On the recycling side, the numbers here are used to factor into those hauling and disposal costs. So cumulatively, we take all those into account, place those in the transfer station budget for both disposal and hauling. There's also a line item for 96-gallon recycling cans. That's basically, that comes out of the residential division along with our standard garbage can replacement budget. It's running about $3,000 a year to replace the carts that need to be replaced and also add to it as we add additional service units. So in essence, the cost to recycle annually is a total of $294,150. And once again, this is based on projected tonnage. I would note in here that does not include various indirect costs such as administration costs, support from HR, IT, even Larry Scott's administrative costs are not factored into that. So the true cost would be a bit higher, but for our purposes tonight, we're focused on the costs, the direct costs of this operation. So with that, we can combine basically our combined recycling, collection, disposal cost and come to an amount per ton. So the total annual cost, once again, $294,150. We forecast approximately 512 tons to be recycled this year. Cost per ton, $575 per ton. By way of comparison, the calculations for MSW to be disposed of, call that
Explain what MSW,
municipal solid waste. My apologies.
just regular trash.
Just regular trash that's not recycled. Larry's looking for it now, but my recollection based on memory, which may be shady at this point, is approximately $90 per ton to actually collect and dispose of municipal solid waste based on all of the factors that we just went through for recycling. So as you can see, based on those numbers, 575 to 90, and if Larry can't find that number, I'll provide you the true number after this meeting tomorrow as I go back and get those. There's definitely a huge difference between that actual cost that goes into this program. So as we've done in the past, and this is where I'm kind of relying on City Council to Thank you, Mr. Scott. So yes, stepping back to where I just was, the cost to dispose of MSW municipal solid waste per ton is $92 per ton. And this represents a total annual cost of all of those cost centers of approximately $2,806,464. That's combining everything that goes into that, divided by the total tons, which is 30,389. So that comes down to that $92 per ton calculation that we have. So to bounce back to this, what I'd like to go through here, as in past presentations, the city obviously has various options when it's looking at its recycling program. I know as a public works director and a huge proponent of recycling, cost is not everything when you're starting to talk about recycling. But from a managerial perspective, it's my position it needs to factor into the equation as far as is the benefit there for the cost that we're actually looking for. So one of the options, we could continue as we have been, continue the current single stream collection program as is, with improving solid waste current hybrid program. The numbers below here, this is some of that effort that Mr. Scott and his team have been taking to really segregate some additional material out of the single stream and through drop-offs at the transfer station to make pure streams of material that can actually be recycled for money rather than paying to process. For example, over the course of the last 6 months, hybrid program, through hard plastics and cardboard, we have received revenue of approximately $2,846. Mixed scrap metal over the course of that 6 months was approximately $9,700, leading to about right around $13,000 in revenue. So that is the first option. Continue the status quo, continuing to improve our efforts internally to sever off additional materials. Option 2 introduce a monthly recycling service fee. This fee would basically be assessed to cover the operating and overhead costs associated with this service. We basically have a cost of about approximately $294,000. We have approximately 15,000 customers. So by doing the math, you get fairly close to these recycling monthly fees, $150 for residential, $3 for commercial. With this option in mind, Mr. Haverlaw and Budget, Finance, and myself have been working our way through a RFQ or an RFP for a rate study that should be coming to council in the very near term. As part of that rate study, a good rate study is going to go through every service that you actually provide. It's going to come up with a true cost of what that service is. It's going to give City Council the ability to compartmentalize or determine what is the impact of that service, what does it cost, what should we be charging for it as a governmental entity. So if this were an option, I would recommend that we hold pat, look at that rate study and the results that come out of that, and then determine whether or not this option is feasible at this point in light of everything else we got going in that rate study. Okay. Option 3, discontinue single stream recycling program and consider implementing other options. I believe these other options we spoke about in the past. For example, establishing free self-sort drop-off collection sites for sorted clean materials. Once again, sorted non-single stream materials are going to be able to be packaged together and actually sold to processors for revenue versus a processing cost. I believe the city of Killeen implemented this program after they disbanded their pilot single stream program back in 2014, 2015. And what they have are several self-sort trailers that are located throughout the city where people can come and self-sort their materials. Another option would be to have continue to have that self-sorting out at the transfer station as we currently have with Mr. Scott's crew. With that, there still would be, this would drop the cost of our current program basically in half. There would be additional startup costs. For example, we anticipate for this program, the annual budgetary cost would be approximately $122,000. Which would include two employees, full-time employees. We currently have 4 in the recycling program, and equipment basically for the transportation of that material. We would have some startup costs, which would include a 2.5-ton pickup, a recycling trailer, and then some roll-offs that would go along with this sorting effort. That'd be approximately $160,000 to start that up. This would be basically a cost reduction, once again, on the annual operating budget by really recycling those products out and being able to recover some revenue for those materials rather than paying what we're paying to single stream at this point.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes, sir.
So.
I just, if I could, option 4, Fort Hood, and we can talk about that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, talk about Fort Hood right now. I'm sorry, I just want to get all my options out before we...
Go ahead.
Okay. With Fort Hood is still an unknown. I know Ms. Cortland has had some discussions with folks. I know Mr. Haverlaw has had some discussions with folks. Where I'm standing at from my chair is I have a draft MOU circulation 2020 and have not seen any movement on that MOU since that point. I believe Mr. Haverlaw may have a more detailed discussion about where that's at. From our perspective, we've been looking at potentially hooking up this program for about 8 years. We're still at no. So with that in mind, is that still an option potentially? Is it a viable option? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. Even if we got the approval, what would the requirements of that look like? Would that be Would they accept single stream? If so, what would the contamination level need to be at or below? How would those logistics work? But with that, I want to throw it out to City Council, have a discussion about what this program looks like and where we should go.
Okay, my question is option 3. Yes. Yep, no, excuse me, let me back up. Option 2 with the roll-offs at a site that people can go to and actually dump. Is that a time period that they can do that, and is that manned during that time period?
There would, and Larry and I have kind of went back and forth and really kind of discussed what that program would look like. Basically, what our intent would be is have one of those trailers. We have a schedule of where that's going to be located throughout the city, set up that schedule. With that in mind, however, there would need to be some employee presence there to prevent dumping, things of that nature. So it would be a service that would be basically throughout the day. We'd retrieve those and move forward with that. So that's, Larry, am I hitting that on point?
Yes, sir. So in the transfer station itself, we will find a location where we can get these special roll-offs that are completely sealed with a cover and slide doors. We base, paper, cardboard, plastic, whatever. And yes, somebody will be there to man them to make sure that people are sorting their materials and place them in the correct areas. As far as the mobile trailer goes, to assist customers that aren't as mobile and stuff like that, we will have a trailer that goes around and we set up in different areas along with a schedule for the citizens that they can come closer to their residence and drop off.
So that program was implemented in Killeen after they changed the single stream recycling. How successful was that? And was not only the quantity but the quality of the recycled material, was it still good, or did it become more of a problem?
The quality at the drop-off centers that are like at their transfer station and at their landfill is pure product. It is good. It can be rejected on site. If it's not something that we take, we tell them to take it away. As far as the trailers go, they leave theirs unmanned, like overnight period, so they do receive that residual, that trash and people dropping off bulk at those locations. So, but they're fighting it. But their actual drop-off centers is pure.
Because it's manned.
Because it's manned, yes, sir.
So that's another manpower issue. Okay. All right. Ms. Cordell?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. As far as the options, has there been any thought given to maybe a hybrid or a mixture of doing option 3 and maybe reducing the number of times per month you pick up recycling at people's locations to try and get more people to participate? So instead of doing it, three times a month, you do it once a month, but then you still have the self-sort for those overflows if you can't get it picked up in time?
Yes, ma'am. We have had that discussion, that very thing of scaling back the single stream collection, which makes sense, quite frankly, based on the constraints that we see on the processing and transportation end. With that in mind, we have not presented that as an option, but it's a great option that we could look into, cost out, and then show council what does that look like in terms of dollars and cents and costs and benefits.
Because I do think there are some that can't get to the transfer station or can't get to, that would still need, collection at their residence. I'm thinking, for our senior citizens and those that can't get around. The second question is, about how are we educating our citizenry on the program? Is there something that goes out regularly? Are we sending any information through the schools or going and talking to different organizations to try and promote what we're trying to do?
Right, and just off the top, and I'll let Mr. Scott address boots on the ground type education. But on the heels of COVID, a lot of that education at the schools, and that's quite frankly one of the most effective places to provide that education, because the kids hear it, they learn it, they come home, they start chastising mom and dad about where that needs to go, and then pretty soon you have a recycling bin and a disposal bin, right? A lot of that really stopped, throughout COVID. Obviously, we're on the heels of COVID. Everybody's basically relaxed at this point. Is that something we intend to do in the future? Most likely. That has not engaged at this point. But we're really only about 4 months into that comfort zone. I think we've all kind of started to feel on the COVID. With that, Larry and his crew also provide some face-to-face education, and I'll hand off to Larry for that.
Yes, ma'am. Most of our education is done through KCCB. We do go to school events when we're invited or when they have those events. We do provide bodies and information and schedules, and we try to make a presence for every event that's available in our area. But 90% is done through KCCB. We do educate customers as situations arise. We bring them schedules. The flyers that we have, I do talk to customers and stuff like that, try to educate them what is the products that we need, what products not to put in. But those are basically one-on-one cases. So we do have the interaction with our customers.
Please think about trying to get back into the schools, because if that is the way that we're going to get more people recycling, then that's probably what we should think about doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Even if it's just sending in a nice coloring book that shows what we take and what we don't take, for the kids to be able to share with their folks. I mean,
KCCB does do that, ma'am.
Okay.
They help us with that. We're kind of joined at the hip.
let's make it happen.
But I would like to point out, though, some of the issues associated with the costs we have now really is not a function of the quantity of material that we're receiving. It's the quantity of material that we can actually process on the back end. Typically in the recycling world, you see more quantity equates to lower processing cost, and that's true except for where we're at right now in terms of the ability to actually recycle that material. So we receive about as much as we can recycle on the monthly basis through what we have right now. Right now, there are no other viable options in this area that make financial sense to go through. Will that change in the future? It's possible. I read recycling articles all the time about, somewhere in Columbus, Ohio, they're building this huge MRF, or, over in Nevada. Will that come here? Will it make more sense and make it more viable? Potentially. As of right now, though, based on our research and the communication we've had, Sunbright is about our best option at this point. And that's limited quantity, understanding that we also have transportation constraints.
Can I just follow up with that, Mr. Osborne?
Yes.
But if we have clean product, i.e. from the self-sorting,
Yes.
that takes some of that burden off, does it not?
We absolutely. I think Larry and his team could get rid of pure material all day long. Is that a correct statement?
I had a question. On the, on option 2, the proposed service fee, that would be everybody in town that gets a utility bill is charged that. There is no option out for recycling.
That's how it would be proposed. It would be proposed as part of that solid waste fee,
So,
base fee.
My question would be, would that RFP could we put in there aspects of, rate structures, potential, as well as maybe looking at option 3 as another possibility within that study?
Within the rate study?
Yes.
Again, that will be looked at, the cost of recycling, the cost of brush and bulk, the cost of residential, the cost of commercial. All of those cost centers will be individually analyzed, so we'll be able to determine what is the true cost of those activities.
And I would just like to say, I'd like to support the idea of looking into the hybrid idea that was mentioned by Councilwoman Cortland here.
Yes, sir.
Any other? Are we looking for direction? I think we are. Do we? And so I think the most obvious thing, do we want to look at an RFP for a rate study, a recycling product as well as procedure, I guess, SOP?
So, Mayor, we are proceeding with the rate study process. So we've already released an RFP to obtain responses back from companies to perform that RFP. We can include specific aspects of it that we've discussed tonight when we negotiate a contract with the top firm when we present that to council. But as far as tonight, looking at these options or some type of mix of those options, Mrs. Cortland has presented a recommendation for kind of a hybrid between a reduced service and kind of a static location type of effort. Beyond that, and looking at rates, was there any other direction? And after that, if I can give you a small update on the coordination with Fort Hood, I'd like to do that as well.
I just would like to mention something, not so much of another suggestion. I did find that there was a grant, an HEB Greenback grant through Keep Texas Beautiful. I just wanted to throw that out there, that might be able to be helpful a little bit. I don't know if that's been looked into.
Okay. Look into that.
That might be supportive.
I'm willing to wait till we see the rate study and see the other options. I will not vote to eliminate recycling in any way possible. I mean, that we can't afford not to recycle.
Everybody good? All right.
So, Mayor, just a quick update on Fort Hood. As Mr. Osborne mentioned, Ms. Cortland has been in contact with a number of elected officials and other entities related to representatives or elected officials' efforts to try and move this forward. Very specifically, Congressman Williams has stated that prior to him not representing our district beginning January 1, he wants to see this relationship and this service complete by the end of this year. In talking with Garrison Command on Fort Hood, the Garrison Commander, as well as the DPW Directorate, they have stated that there is effort to, from Fort Hood's standpoint, to try and move the coordination forward as well from their aspect. So it's occurring both from an elected official standpoint as well as from within Fort Hood, because Fort Hood wants to see this happen. And they've invested quite a bit of time that they don't want to see it just stop. Neither do we.
No. All right. Thank you, Scott, on this particular one. Now we go to item.
Thank you very much.
We go to item E2.
Receive and update and provide direction regarding the city's adopted utility donation assistance program. Scott Osborne, Director of Public Works.
Thank you very much. I know we're running late into workshop, so I want to be brief on this. Back in January 19th of 2021, the City Council, as you recall, adopted a utility assistance donation program to provide assistance to the city's utility customers following basically the city's last adoption of fee increases back in 2020. The program guidelines were attached to my memorandum tonight that really detail what those guidelines were. In essence, that program was directly designed to offset those 2020 rate increases for qualifying utility customers in an amount to not exceed $13.83 per billing cycle. So following the adoption of the program, and it did take a little while to get stood up and logistics worked out, Utility Administration and Finance coordinated those logistics, developed forms, and put the program in place. At that point, Utility Administration sent out repeated advisories, public information about the existence of the program, communicated the existence of that program to customers that came into the lobby, as well as putting notes on the bills relating to the existence of this program. With that effort, originally, as you may recall, that program was designed to be a pilot program, and City Council at that point said come back in 6 months. I'd like to apologize. It has not been 6 months. It's been about a year and a half since this program's been in place, and that's my fault. It fell off the radar. But with that in mind, as of April 19th, 2022, the remaining balance of the Utility Assistance Donation Program Fund was $1,626.06. Since the implementation of this program back in January 2021, it has been utilized by 18 customers for $13.83 apiece, expending a total of $248.94 of total assistance provided. So, although program funds remain, the demand for this program, potentially based on the amount of the assistance, the qualifications related to this program, i.e. an account has to be in good standing. Typically, folks in good standing don't need assistance, so they, $13.83 really isn't helpful to some of those folks that may be in need of assistance. With that in mind, at this time, city staff is seeking direction regarding the continuation, modification, and/or termination of this program. One thing I would like to mention, I have been working with another group. It's a state group. Let me get to my document here. Through a federal grant, it's called the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program, LIHWAP, and we have been in the process of negotiating a water provider agreement. What this program basically does is provide assistance to needy individuals for their water, drainage, and sewer services. With that, I have gone through that agreement. We've had that reviewed by legal. I've had some questions addressed by this program. You will see it on the first meeting in June. I'll bring that agreement to you and see if council's interested in participating in this program. This is a limited time program. It's based on a federal grant. Once the grant's gone, if not replenished, the program will fade away as well. But with that in mind, my understanding is going to last at least a year. Again, it's a more comprehensive program that actually assesses, in my opinion, the true need for that type of assistance that potentially covers most if not all of a potential utility customer's bill. So with that, I think we do have some options relating to the remaining balance. If council chooses to end the program at this point, potentially we could go back, look to the donors, see if they would like to divert those funds elsewhere, or basically reconfigure this program to an extent to expend those funds. Really, I think those options are up in the air, but I think the cleanest way would be to really see if the donors want to receive a refund of those donations or to divert them to another donation account within the city. And I'm not sure if finance is glaring at me at this point. I'm not sure if that's possible, but I'm sure they will tell me if it's not. So with that in mind, I'd like your direction, please.
Council? Jack?
Because of the lack of use and the difficulty of qualifying for the program, I think we should end it and work towards the one Scott is speaking of.
Anything else?
I also agree. I like, do they have their own set of guidelines that we are gonna have to do, or do we have to incorporate new ones? Or use the ones that we already have?
Yeah, they have their own set of guidelines that, and I'll go through really the deviations that program would require us to do. And really what it comes down to is, under their program, I may need to delay the assessment of fees or shut-offs for a little bit longer than what our ordinance provides, just so we can receive those funds. There's a few nuances like that deviate from how our utility administration fees are assessed and collected, but I don't think they're unreasonable. One of the things that this program does not cover is solid waste charges, so I've had some discussion about what does that look like if the customers under your program, you pay for their water, their sewer, their drainage, but they don't pay the solid waste. Would I still be in a position to shut them off? The answer is yes, within a reasonable time. I need to afford a reasonable time for them to pay that portion, and then I can move forward as usual to really collect on those outstanding arrearages. It's things like that, but I'll point those out to you at the next meeting, and we'll kind of go through and see if council's on board with those deviations for purposes of this program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that, that program is certainly much different than what this particular one was set up for. At the time that we looked at increasing the base rate, this was a program to help offset those that used very little water, to offset the increase itself, not to pay a water bill or anything like that, just to offset that increase for it. Obviously, it, for the most part, was not utilized very well, so, take it for what it is. Anything else? So consensus is to wind this program down, talk with donors, see what they want to do, and then continue with this grant potential and see how robust and what kind of qualifications and everything are involved in that. And you said that'll be in the next council meeting?
Yes, that should be the first meeting in June.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, a lot of things to discuss and workshop. The time is 6:32. We will adjourn and start the council meeting at 6:40.
I think we stopped there with that. Spent a little bit of time. Red Dog Saloon, was that in Juneau?
Juneau.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, that was in Juneau. We didn't go to Juneau, we did a whale watching tour.
Oh, yeah.
So, but the couple that went with us, they didn't have anything like a town tour.
Yeah, that's what we
And they
did.
went- Yeah, that's what they did. So we didn't go to, but we saw it. I mean, when we got back, we walked around the town and went shopping. And I was like,
Yeah.
but she had, we all had, I told her, yeah.
I knew you would when he
And
told
I'm
me.
not a really cold weather person, but I can say that I done it, and it was beautiful.
Because when we went, we went later in the year, when it was
It was still chilly.
their summer.
Okay, no, it was still chilly because like in Sitka, it was. That's what we used to, they don't have these up north. Ketchikan was the other one that we were actually in sunshine, but it was still cold. But this like kind of used to try in the Pontus National Forest and the water all the sea. So the water was cold. It was cold, but it was still
Yeah, we went
pretty.
later and it was warm.
When we went
Yeah, no, it's gonna be short. It's gonna be a fast meeting.
that was cold.
The ice was blue.
Yeah, and the water is like this. And there were icebergs on the water. Oh, we did, but you see it fall, but you don't need it until like 5 seconds later. But it was fantastic. We have so many pictures.
I know, I think hey there, how you doing? Good. Our sister, or his sister, they went on after this. But we had already gone with my sister.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't so bad to do it.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, but,
That's on top of the ship, when we were looking at it.
yeah.
That's the Hubbard Glacier. And that day to me was the coldest day.
Yeah.
And again, you're near a glacier.
Yeah,
But
it was freezing out there.
I just thought it was so pretty. It wasn't like something that you see on TV or in a magazine and you experience it. So much of it is so pristine.
I saw all the people sitting on an ice.
Then when we were in Juneau,
Oh my gosh. No, go to the right. Right, that one. Thank you.
I love this job.
That's good. I like that.
So you like cruising?
The one that's at the front.
It'll take like some days. I just wish.
No, I don't know. Well, the whole thing, yeah, because they mentioned that in this number, there is a number. I mean, mine is well, yeah. Well, I,
Otherwise, we wouldn't go on the road.
I see what you're saying.
There's no reason for you to pay.
Lisa, what are these? They're chocolate.
They're called devil dogs.
There's just like chocolate cake.
They're really big.
Good evening. The regular council meeting for the city of Coppers Cove held May 17, 2022 is called to order at 6:46. Please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Ms. Hart.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time for us to congregate together, Father. Continue to watch over our great city, taking care of our families and the people that work within all the entities here. Continue to bless us, Father, with much favor and having us grow to the capacity of where you see fit, Father. Continue to be prosperous in our community and continue to guide us in our directions here on council. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Please join me in pledge for our nation's flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please be seated. Roll call.
Mayor Yancey,
Here.
Joanne Cortland. Here. Fred Chavez.
Here.
Sean Alzona.
Here.
Jay Manning. Diane Campbell. Vanya Hart. Here. Jack Smith.
Here.
Quorum is present. Item D, announcements. Ms. Court.
Yes, I wanted to announce that this Saturday from 8 to 11, Operation Stay Down Central Texas is doing a green space cleanup at 201 Carpenter Street.
Okay.
Nothing, sir.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Right.
Yes, sir. Rabbit Fest begins this Thursday through Sunday. It will be at City Park, and so those driving on Avenue B or FM 1113, please be aware that there will be traffic congestion and drive carefully and go and enjoy the festivities.
Nothing at this time, sir.
Nothing.
Okay. All right, we move to item E, Citizens Forum.
At this time, citizens will be allowed to speak for a length of time not to exceed 5 minutes per person on any item which is listed on the agenda and items not listed on the agenda. 30 minutes total has been allotted for this section. Pursuant to Section 551.042 of the Texas Open Meetings Act, any deliberation or decision about the subject of inquiry which is not listed on the agenda shall be limited to a proposal to place the subject on the agenda for a subsequent meeting.
All right. We have somebody to speak, Citizens Forum.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City Manager. My name is Sylvia Rhodes. I reside at 1925 Pleasant Lane here in Coppers Cove. I am before you this evening to talk to you about two things, actually. First, I'm more checking on the status of the option of paying by e-check when we pay our water bill online. When I asked about this, when the city first switched over to Encode for utilities billing, Ms. Campbell emailed me and said that the city was working with the software provider to get e-check back online when the entire software is upgraded. And so I'm just wondering if there's a specific time frame that can be given. I know you can't answer, but I just wanted to put that on your radar to find out. Second, I'm here to speak to you about the curbside single stream recycling program. As you know, this program is very, very, very dear to me. So this is why I feel the need to speak up. While it has been so awesome that we could participate in the single stream recycling free of charge, times have changed. China is no longer taking our recyclables, making it much more difficult to properly process our recyclables. It's a fact that costs are going up for everything associated with processing recycling. I can't imagine that there are any other cities that offer this program truly for free. Somehow, if there is no recycling fee, the cost of single stream recycling is worked into a solid waste fee. I know that there are many residents who love our curbside recycling program, so I hope I'm not alone in the willingness to pay an extra $1.50 a month to ensure the single stream recycling program stays around. When I think about the amount of money the city spent, the time and effort the employees put into getting this program off the ground, I would rather pay the extra fee than have those efforts be in vain. Please do not consider doing away with this hard-earned program. Please do not consider having a drop-off site for recycling only, because I worked for the city's recycling program long enough to know that if we went this route only, we would lose at least 70% or more of our recyclables to the landfill. Isn't that one of the main reasons to keep recycling? To keep things out of the landfill? When we first began implementing single stream, one of the facts we pointed out to the council at the time is that if you make it easy for people to recycle, more will do it. That's the truth, and that's all I have. Thank you for your time and attention, and thank you, Mr. Smith, for saying that you will not vote to do away with the recycling program. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
George McMaster, 208 Veterans Avenue, Apartment 111. Ladies and gentlemen, I am no doctor nor justice of the peace, but I hereby pronounce the death of the Utility Assistance Donation Program. May it rest in peace. That the program has shown such dismal returns is a disgrace. That the city allowed the program to stagnate without doing more to help those in need is also a disgrace. $13.83 a month is not assistance. The amount of money available, with the only source of income being donations, is not assistance. This program was never properly equipped to replace the senior citizen utility rates. With concerns about its viability dismissed in haste, the city plowed ahead with implementation without ensuring its long-term success. Failure was all but guaranteed. The city must now enact a solution to this unequal situation and ensure its long-term success. Charging utility customers a severely regressive utility rate and offering a worse than useless assistance program is not equal and uniform. City Council has twice proposed an equitable solution that exceeds the legal requirements of Texarkana v. Wiggins and Section 1502.057 Government Code. I understand there's a utility rate study in progress. I will wait for the results. But honestly, it is far beyond time for the city to implement that solution without delay. Finally, Texarkana v. Wiggins was originally brought by the non-resident utility customers of Texarkana because they were being unlawfully charged more for living outside that city's limits. That ruling was cited as the key argument of case law in the city's attorney opinion justifying the elimination of the senior rate. I am far beyond a licensed attorney, but I reasonably believe that the legal opinion cited is now fatally compromised by the unlawful retention of the ETJ rate. If the senior rate is indeed unlawful, then the city should obey the standard it set in September 2020 and immediately eliminate the ETJ rate on the same legal grounds. Again, I ask, why did the city eliminate the senior citizen utility rate? But honestly, the question I should be asking, why was a utility rate that charges a group of customers less per month eliminated, while a utility rate that charges a group of customers more per month is continuously and unlawfully retained?
Anyone else to speak at Citizens Forum? Right, we'll move on to consent agenda.
All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Item 1, consideration and action on approval of City Council workshop meeting minutes for May 3rd, 2022. Ashley Osborne, Deputy City Secretary. Item 2, consideration and action on approval of City Council regular meeting minutes for May 3rd, 2022. Ashley Osborne, Deputy City Secretary.
Council, is there any item you wish to consider separately? If none, is there a motion?
Mayor Yancey,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items F1 and 2.
Second. Motion made by Ms. Hart, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We go to item G, public hearings and action.
A governmental body shall allow each member of the public who desires to address the body regarding an item on an agenda for an open meeting of the body to address the body regarding the item at the meeting before or during the body's consideration of the item. Item 1, second public hearing and action on ordinance number 2022-20, amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for the City of Copperas Cove. Ariana Beckman, Director of Budget.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, Council, Mayor, City Manager. The budget amendment before you requires two public hearings. This is the second public hearing, and action can be taken tonight. This budget amendment amends many funds. So we're going to begin with the general fund. The general fund requires an overall increase of revenues, $710,433, and an expenditure decrease of $98,283. The water and sewer fund requires an increase in revenues of $1,714,135, and an overall expenditure decrease of $73,912. The solid waste fund requires an overall decrease in revenues of $23,415 and expenditure decrease of $1,002,337. Golf course fund requires an increase in revenues of $22,883 and an expenditure increase of $4,045. The drainage fund requires an overall decrease in revenues of $18,894 and expenditure increase of $333,899. The tax, interest, and sinking fund requires a decrease in revenues of $47,671, an expenditure increase of $542,379. The Parks Improvement Fund requires an increase in revenues of $3,007 and expenditure increase of $2,987. The street maintenance fund requires an increase in revenues of $50,100 and expenditure decrease of $45,085. The hotel occupancy tax fund requires an increase in revenues of $45,142. The PEG fee fund requires an overall decrease in revenues of $2,094 and expenditure decrease of $2,000. The court efficiency fund requires a decrease in revenues of $1,397 and expenditure decrease of $1,350. The court technology fund requires a decrease in revenues of $6,598 and expenditure decrease of $5,811. Court security fund requires an increase in revenues of $452 and expenditure increase of $438. The Park Special Events Fund requires an increase in revenues of $12,550 and expenditure increase of $8,804. The Citywide Donation Fund requires a revenue and expense decrease of $18,733. Citywide Grants Fund requires a overall revenue and expense increase of $4,078,776. The Police State Seizure Fund requires an increase in revenues of $60. The Law Enforcement Explorer Fund requires an increase in revenues of $20. The Law Enforcement Block Grant requires an increase in revenues of $1,548 and expenditure increase of $1,528. The Tobacco Grant Fund requires a revenue and expense increase of $46. And lastly, the Court Jury Fund requires an increase in revenues of $319 and expenditure increase of $300. Staff recommends City Council hold the public hearing and take action on the attached ordinance amending the budget.
All right, this is the second public hearing. I'll open it up for comments at 7 o'clock. Is there anyone to speak on this item during the public hearing? Again, anybody to speak during public hearing on this hearing and action item? All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing at 7:01. Council, what is your pleasure? Excuse me. Anybody?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2022-20, amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Cortland. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move to public hearing, item number 2.
Public hearing and action on ordinance number 2022-21, amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget for the city of Coppers Cove. Ariana Beckman, Director of Budget.
Thank you, Lisa. The next budget amendment does not use fund balance, therefore only one public hearing is required and action can be taken tonight. The 2022 Certificates of Obligation Water and Sewer Fund require an overall revenue and expense increase of $257,500 for replacement of a influence screen at the Northeast Wastewater Treatment Plant. Now this item has a corresponding reimbursement resolution later in the agenda item. The project is included in the debt issuance coming up in August. However, as explained in the agenda item, the washer compactor unit suffered a failure and it's out of service, so it needs replaced. So staff recommend that City Council hold a public hearing and take action on the attached ordinance.
All right. The time is 7:03. I'll open up the public hearing. Is anybody to speak on this particular public hearing item. Anyone to speak during public hearing on this item, G2? All right, the time is 7:03. We'll close the public hearing. Council action to be taken.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2022-21, amending the FY 2021 to 2022 budget as
Second.
presented.
Motion made by Mr. Chavez, seconded by Mr. Alzona. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move
Thank
to.
you.
Thank you. Carry on. We move to item G3.
Public hearing and consideration to approve ordinance number 2022-15 to amend the future land use plan for a request by Mitchell and Associates, Inc., representing Southco Development, Inc., to reconfigure a portion of ordinance number 2021-20 for the Village at Walker Place, Phase 2, from LD, low-density residential, MD, medium-density residential, and public and institutional, to public and institutional for a portion of Coral County Property ID 142633, Coppers Cove, Texas. Bobby Lewis, Development Services Director.
Thank you, Lisa. Mayor and Council. On March 31st, 2022, staff received an application by Mitchell & Associates representing South Cove Development to reconfigure a portion of the Village at Walker Place Phase 2. On April 25th, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to City Council for the request by Mitchell & Associates. The applicant proposes to amend the future land use plan map to accommodate the expansion of a larger stormwater detention facility. The request to amend the future land use plan map to public will meet the applicant's future development needs by having a larger stormwater detention facility for the Village at Walker Place Phase 2. Staff then recommend, and the City Planning Commission recommend approval of ordinance number 2022-15 as requested.
Questions for Mr. Lewis? Okay. The time is 7:06. I'll open up public hearing. Is there anybody to speak on this item, G3? Anybody to speak during public hearing on item G3? All right, we'll close. The time is 7:06. Council, is there action to be taken on this item?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2022-15.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Hart. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move to item G4.
Public hearing and consideration to approve ordinance number 2022-16 to rezone property for a request by Mitchell and Associates, Inc., representing South Cove Development, Inc., to reconfigure a portion of ordinance number 2021-21 for the Village at Walker Place Phase 2 from R1 Single Family Residential District, R2 Two Family Residential District, and PF Public Facilities to PF Public Facilities for a portion of Coral County Property ID 142633, Coppers Cove, Texas. Bobby Lewis, Development Services Director.
Mayor and Council, on March 31st, 2022, staff received an application by Mitchell & Associates representing South Cove Development to reconfigure a portion of the Village at Walker Place Phase 2. On April 25th, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to City Council for the request by Mitchell & Associates. The applicant proposes to rezone the property to accommodate a new configuration for the expansion of a larger stormwater detention facility. The vicinity map is attached and it's on the screen here to show for any clarification of what he's doing. With that, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of ordinance number 2022-16 as requested.
Council, any questions for Mr. Lewis? Okay. The time is 7:08. We'll open up public hearing for item G4. Is there anyone to speak during public hearing for item G4, for or against? All right, the time is 7:08. Close the public hearing. Is there action to be taken, council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2022-16 as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Chavez, seconded by Mr. Smith. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move to item G5.
Public hearing and consideration to approve ordinance number 2022-17 to rezone property for a request by Gresham Smith for Coppers Cove WAB DTP LLC from R1 Single Family Residential District to B3 Local Business District, known as Carroll County Property IDs 124901 and 124902, consisting of 2.217 acres located at 609 and 611 West Avenue B, Coppers Cove, Texas. Bobby Lewis, Development Services Director.
Mayor and Council, on March 31st, 2022, staff received an application by Grissom Smith to rezone property to allow for a 10,640 square foot retail store. On April 25th, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to City Council for the request by Grissom Smith. Currently, the zoning for the property is zoned R1, Single Family Residential District. The proposed rezoning to B3 Local Business District will allow for enhanced consistency with the 2020 Comprehensive Plan. More importantly, the request to rezone the property will facilitate the development of a 10,640 square foot retail variety store along West Avenue B. Staff mailed out 20 public hearing notice letters requesting comment from the surrounding property owners. Staff received 4 letters for approval and 1 letter for denial. The Commission received no public comment from the audience during the public hearing for this request. With that, staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of ordinance number 2022-17 as requested. And I will know that the applicant is online, the applicant's representative, if you have any questions.
All right. Council, have any questions? All right, the time is 7:11. We'll open up the public hearing. Is anybody to speak for or against on item G5? Again, anybody to speak on item G5? All right. Time is 7:12. We will close the public hearing. Council, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2022-17 as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Chavez, seconded by Ms. Cortland. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move to item G6.
Public hearing and consideration to approve ordinance number 2022-18 to rezone property for a request by Mitchell & Associates, Inc. for Cove View Mobile Home Park LLC from Ag 1 Agricultural to RMH Manufactured Home District for a portion of Lampasas County Property ID 8787, consisting of 2.5 acres of a 4.61 acre tract located at 2455 FM 2657, aka 2455 Bar Lane. Also, city staff recommends to rezone property from Ag 1 Agricultural to RMH Manufactured Home District for Lampasas County Property ID 8788, consisting of 0.312 acres located at 2926 Bar Lane, Coppers Cove, Texas. Bobby Lewis, Development Services Director.
Mayor and Council, on March 30th, 2022, staff received an application by Mitchell & Associates for Cove View Mobile Home Park. Upon reviewing the application, city staff is recommending to rezone property from AG1-agricultural to RMH Manufactured Home District for the property located at 2926 Bar Lane. On April 25th, 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to the City Council for the request by Mitchell and Associates for the Cove View Mobile Home Park and to follow staff's recommendation. The proposed rezoning to RMH Manufactured Home District will allow for enhanced consistency with the 2020 comprehensive plan. More importantly, the request to rezone the property will facilitate the development of the Cove View Mobile Home Park along FM 2657. Staff mailed out 30 notices requesting comment from the surrounding property owners. City staff received 5 letters for denial. The commission received 1 comment from the audience saying that they were neither for or against the request, but had questions and wished to learn more about the project. City staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of ordinance number 2022-18 as requested.
Council, you have any questions for Mr. Lewis? On the .312 acreage, was there already a manufactured home on that site?
There is.
There was? I mean,
There is.
There was before
Yeah,
this?
there is, yeah.
Okay. And this was, and at that point in time, it was outside the city limits when that was
Correct.
done?
It was
Okay.
annexed and given the Ag 1 zoning.
Interesting.
It was in 2005.
And so, I guess unless the owner requested it, there wouldn't be anything to change.
Correct.
So they enjoyed ag status on their property taxes since 2005?
Correct.
Okay. Right. Time is 7:15. We'll open up this item for public hearing. Is there anybody to speak on item G6?
I have a question.
Yes.
In regards to the denial letters, there is a response from, there is a question that was out there. Was that ever explained to the person on the denial letter? It was, what does this do for city sewer and current water? I don't know how much, do we answer that question or?
So they give us that comment, and so most likely what people will do will come to the Planning and Zoning Commission and voice that same question to the commission and ask for the commission's recommendation or opinion on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I did open up public hearing, right? Okay. Is there any other comments for item G6? All right, the time is 7:17. We'll close the public hearing portion. Is there action to be taken on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2022-18.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Hart. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item G7.
Public hearing and consideration to approve ordinance number 2022-19 to rezone property for a request by Mitchell and Associates, Inc. for Nobles Park Addition being a recreational vehicle park facility from Ag 1 agricultural to BRV recreational vehicle parks for Lampasas County Property ID 8792, 8787, consisting of 14.5 acres of a 17.361 acre tract located at 3196 Renee Lane, Coppers Cove, Texas. Bobby Lewis, Development Services Director.
Mayor and Council, on March 31st, 2022, staff received an application by Mitchell and Associates for Nobles Park Addition, being a recreational vehicle park facility. On April 25th, 2022, staff and the Planning Commission voted unanimously, well, we didn't vote. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to the City Council for the request by Mitchell and Associates for the Noble Park addition. The proposed rezoning from B to B-RV recreational vehicle park will allow for enhanced consistency with the 2020 comprehensive plan. The request to rezone the property will facilitate the development of the Noble Park Addition RV Park. Staff mailed out 30 notices requesting comment, and the same people commented on this as well. City staff received those 5 letters of denial, which is in your packet. With that, city staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of ordinance number 2022-19 as requested.
Okay. Council, any questions directed for Mr. Lewis? Okay. That time is 7:19. Open up public hearing for item G7. Anybody to speak for or against item G7? Anyone to speak for or against item G7? Right. Time is 7:19. We'll close the public hearing. Council, is there action to be taken on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we approve, I'd like to move that we approve ordinance number 2022-19 as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Chavez, seconded by Mr. Smith. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move to action items. Item H1.
Consideration and action on resolution number 2022-16, expressing intent to finance expenditures to be incurred for replacement of the influent screen at the Northeast Wastewater Treatment Plant. Ariana Beckman, Director of Budget.
Thank you, Lisa. Again, as explained earlier during the budget amendment, the influent screen at the Northeast Wastewater Treatment Plant needs replaced, and that project it's included in the upcoming debt, which will be issued in August 2022. So the resolution for approval tonight will allow staff to finance that expenditure, and then once that debt is issued, we'll reimburse ourselves. So our recommendation is for council to approve resolution number 2022-16, expressing intent to finance expenditures to be incurred for replacement of the influent screen at the Northeast Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Right. Is there action to be taken on item H1? Didn't everybody speak up at once?
Yeah, it's my favorite subject. Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution 2022-16, expressing intent to finance expenditures to be incurred for the replacement of the influent screen at the Northeast Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Chavez, seconded by Ms. Cortland. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We move to item H2.
Thank you.
Consideration and action on 4 appointments to the Board of Adjustment Zoning to fill positions 2, 3, 4, and 5, beginning on July 14th, 2022. Ryan Haverlaw, City Manager.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mayor and Council, the Board of Adjustments for Zoning is a state-authorized and directed board. Our Code of Ordinances provides guidance on how to appoint members to that board. We have 4 vacancies and 4 applicants, and staff recommends that the City Council take action to appoint members to the Board of Adjustments.
Council, any questions for Mr. Haverlaw?
Are they all for the same term, same amount of, same length of term, all those places?
Mr. Lewis, can you answer that question for me, please?
So this particular board has been one that's been very difficult for us to fill. A lot of the members that are on it now are serving past their expiration time. For example, Howard Hawk, I think, is supposed to have come up about a year ago. And so they will have staggered periods at different times.
They will.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we appoint Brian J. Ockert, Howard Lee Hawk, Patricia D. Thomas, and Gail Lewis to positions 2, 3, 4, and 5, beginning on July 14th, 2022. And the positions in that order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Alzona. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excuse me. Motion carries. We move to item H3.
Consideration and action to appoint 5 of 7 members of the Building Codes Board of Adjustment and Appeals. Bobby Lewis, Development Services Director.
Mayor and Council, on January 7th, 2021, City Council approved ordinance number 2021-47, amending Section 4-4, Building Codes Board of Adjustment and Appeals. In an effort to obtain qualified applicants, vacancy announcements were released to the media on March 14, 2022, with a submittal deadline of April 22nd, 2022. Applicants are attached for your consideration on the board. Staff recommends City Council review the applicants submitted and appoint members to the board, or the Building Codes Board of Adjustment and Appeals. Not to
Mayor.
be confused with the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Mayor, in addition to that, we've received additional applications for this board. However, we still have to do background checks prior to presenting those applications to the council. So if you are contacted about additional applicants, those additional applicants are not included on tonight's agenda because the background has not been completed.
And one thing I will note too, the deadline for that submittal time is June 8th, so we could receive more applicants as well.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Lewis? Hearing none, is there a motion? You got a question? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Brian Ockert, James Clark, Dustin DeWalt, Curtis Manning, and Paul Russell to the Building Codes Board of Adjustments and Appeals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Cortland. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move to item H4.
Consideration and action to appoint 5 of 7 members to the International Code Review Ad Hoc Committee. Bobby Lewis, Development Services Director.
Mayor and Council, on March 1st, 2022, City Council approved Resolution 2022-10 establishing the International Code Review Ad Hoc Committee to review and make recommendations to City Council for revisions and adoption of international codes. In an effort to obtain qualified applicants, vacancy notices were released to the media on March 18, 2022, with a deadline date of April 27, 2022. Applicants are attached for your consideration on the board. Staff recommends City Council review the applications submitted and make appointments to the International Code Review Ad Hoc Committee.
Any questions for Mr. Lewis? Is there action to be taken by council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we appoint Brian Ockert, James Clark, Dustin Dewald, Curtis J. Manning, and Paul Russell to the International Code Review Ad Hoc Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Chavez, second by Mr. Smith. Seem to be the only ones awake tonight. Any other discussion?
They're beating me. Yes, exactly.
Any other discussion?
Sir.
Yes.
No, I'm just saying, yes, sir.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We need to go back to item H3 because part of the.
Mayor, would you like me to provide an
Go ahead.
explanation on that?
Yes.
Yeah, so on H3, the Building Codes Board of Adjustments and Appeals appointments, that ordinance requires that there be positions. The positions state that the odd number positions shall expire in odd number years and even numbered positions will expire in even numbered years. So each of those individuals needs to be assigned and appointed to a position, which will then determine their expiration date.
Okay, so there's 5.
Question, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Question. So as far as saying positions, you're just saying odd or even?
Yeah, if we can just do 1 through 5, that'd be great.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
on my motion, I stated that in that order, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So Brian Ockert, position 2. That was on that one.
No, we're on number 3.
Yeah.
H3.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, the motion you made for item number 3 did not include position numbers. If we, and our attorney can clarify if necessary, but if you were to make a motion by.
Hi, this is Clarissa. Can we clarify the motion? That way we can make sure that we have the motion reread. That way we can make sure that we comply with the positions requirement.
Okay.
So, Ms. Clarissa, you're asking what was the specific motion language?
Yes, that way we can determine whether, we can go back and redo the motion. So if we can have the secretary or somebody reread the motion as first stated.
So we need to
And then that way we can go back to, if we need to fix it, we'll fix it.
I don't have it verbatim.
So the motion that I wrote down was Councilmember Smith moved to appoint Brian Ockert, James Clark, Dustin Dewald, Curtis Manning, Paul Smith to the Building Codes Board of Adjustment and Appeals.
I have the same.
Okay.
That's correct. I was looking at this other
So do
item
we
whenever
need
you,
to
I thought you
amend the
wanted
motion
clarifications
and
on it.
include placement?
Yes, please, go ahead and amend the motion just to make sure that we have each person with a place.
Okay. Mr. Smith, would you like to amend your motion?
Yes.
First 3
I'm looking
even,
at
the
it.
last 2 odd? Something like that?
We still have 2 more places to fill on this
That's
also.
correct.
Yes. And the even ones end in even years.
That is correct.
Okay.
So the even positions, they would be appointed for 2 years. The odds would be appointed for 1 year, and then we'd have to reappoint them.
Right. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint James Clark, Dustin Dewald, Curtis Manning, Paul Russell to the even number positions, and Brian Ockert to the odd number 1.
All right. You heard the motion? Second. All right. Motion was made by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Chavez.
I see a problem with that. There's only 3 even number positions.
That's right.
Right.
I was going to say that.
say that, okay.
So, Mayor,
There's 4 odds and 3 evens.
Yes.
Maybe, if I can, just make sure I understand the motion, that Clark, Dewald, and Manning would be appointed to places 2, 4, and 6, and Ockert and Russell would be appointed to places 1 and 3. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other discussion?
No discussion, but I would just like to make a comment.
Yes.
Bobby, you were the star of the show today. You did very well.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amended motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've gone through all the action items. No reports from staff. Items for future agendas.
None at this time, sir, thank you.
Okay.
I have nothing, sir.
John?
No, sir, no, nothing, sir.
Ms. Hart?
Yes, for future agendas, I would like Aware Texas to be added for reports from staff outside entities section. Is this the time to do that?
Okay, state that again.
I would like to have Aware Central Texas to be able to be added to the future action item during the reports from staff, outside entities, and advisory committees and boards.
Okay. Any support?
Support.
Okay. All right. Mr. Smith?
I have nothing.
Okay. All right, we have one executive agenda item.
Discussion of personal matters pursuant to Chapter 551.074 of the Texas Government Code regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. City Manager Ryan Haverlaw.
The time is 7:35. We adjourn into executive session.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up?
Do you owe Bobby most money?
It's no problem. It's no problem. I should have caught it before the.
I know.
Lisa.
I do that, and then I talk to my mom, she's like, you're starting to sound like a southern chick. I'm like, I think I am now. I've been here longer than I've been up north, so.
There you go.
That's bad, I'm just curious.
Can I beatbox?
Working out to,
The time is 7:41. There is no action to be taken on any executive session item posted and legally discussed. So therefore, at 7:41, we stand adjourned.